Hi there, welcome to video number 3 on our high performing teams course, and today we're going to look at the processes and practices of high performing teams. It's been said of team meetings that meetings take minutes and waste hours. Team meetings is a really good example of a process that teams need to get sorted out if they want to achieve high performance. So let's first of all explore some principles that are going to orientate us before we start looking at how to create the processes of a high performing team. First of all, it's a good idea to find a model. I've shared with you one already in video 1. If you don't like it, then find another one, but probably not the best idea just to make it up as you go along. Secondly, your team may already have some very good processes for things it's doing. These don't need to be replaced, and they certainly don't need to be tinkered with. So you start off using the model to let you do a health check on the different aspects of your team's process. You'll then have to come up with an improvement plan. You want to have a bit of thought about how to do this, in what stages, and who's going to do what. You then need to build what I call team maturity Basecamps. It's a good principle of change management that you unfreeze and make a change, then you freeze it. Otherwise, you just exhaust people through continuous change. You need also to understand that some things are easy to fix and some things will not be fixed on the first attempt, and you need to be patient around that. And finally, as we've stressed right from the start of this course, it's not just about the process, it's not just about the people, you have to do both. And the video after this, we'll look at the change management side of creating a high performing team. So this is the model I shared with you on video number 1. On the left hand side we've process development, which we're going to talk about now. On the right hand side we've change management. So let's focus on process development. 4 main areas: communications, meetings, alignment and accountability, and support and systems. And each of these 4 areas break down into 4 sub areas that you can operate at and you can introduce practices and processes at. In terms of communications, we've got open communications. It needs to be safe for team members to say what they really think. Conflict resolution, you need a process for addressing conflict. How you're going to deal with it when people fall out. You need good processes around problem solving, and there needs to be an agreement of how information is shared between team members, what might be confidential and what might be shared by all, especially if you've got a multidisciplinary or even a multi-company team. So communications is vital. Meetings we've already talked about. Your team operational meetings, absolutely crucial. If you don't get these right, you'll frustrate everybody. Then your strategy meetings, these are vital, but they don't happen as often. But you do need to get them right, but they're not as urgent as operational meetings. Relational meetings is something teams often neglect. It's not just enough to have a pizza and go bowling once a year. That doesn't really deal with the relationship issues that will develop in a team. And finally, on meetings, in the world we're now in, many of your meetings will have virtual participants, or the whole meeting might be virtual, and you need to build skills and processes for dealing with virtual meetings. In terms of alignment and accountability, what are the ground rules? Some people call it etiquette. How are we going to talk to each other? How are we going to deal with each other? Have we got our goals all lined up? Have we got accountabilities? By accountabilities, I don't just mean responsibilities. Accountability means what can you be counted on for, not just what you're responsible for. And of course, team roles. If you're a wise team leader, you will not be the only leader in that team. You will have a number of supporting roles in place. And the 4th area, really important, support and systems. How will people be developed? What kind of coaching relationships will be in place by the more senior people? Will there be a peer support system so everybody at every level is helping each other? And one of the most vital ingredients is the early warning system. Are the team just looking out for themselves? Are they looking out for problems that might affect any of them? A great team has an effective early warning system. Now, these areas, which I've gone through very quickly, there's a chapter on each of them in my book on high performing teams, which explains them in a lot more detail. But basically, 4 high level areas of team process, each of which break down into 4 more detailed areas. So that makes 16 areas in total. And to just make it a little bit more real for you, this is our chapter High Performing Teams game, where you have to intervene with a fictitious team in terms of using the model. And if you take, for example, communications we've been talking about, the sort of interventions you're going to be looking at there is the environment for openness, the processes to address conflict quickly and effectively. Is the team using recognized decision-making techniques? Decision-making in teams needs a lot of thought, and there are a number of recognized decision-making techniques, each appropriate for different situations. And then finally, around communications, how the team shares information, keeps the other team members up to date, how much is done by email, how much is done face-to-face. This really needs to be sorted out for a team. I mentioned the process health check. Teams are not a blank slate, so you need to do a process health check to see where your team is before you start intervening with it. And the way to do this is talk to the team members, talk to the team sponsors and stakeholders, and talk to the team's customers. And if you see here, we've got the 16 different aspects, and it's saying, for example, that operational meetings are in great shape. They're 100%, whereas strategic meetings are in poor shape. So you can come up with a little spider diagram that shows A, what's missing, B, what's broken, and C, what is adequate or already very strong. And this gives you your first guidance as to the things that you might need to address. Also, this little spreadsheet's very useful. It gives you some ideas on the number of interventions necessary to fix things. For example, open communications practices are not fixed in a single meeting. If you'd like to get a copy of this little spreadsheet, just email me at dashboardsimulations.com and I'll send you one out absolutely free. So you've started to establish a health check to find which parts of the team processes are absent or broken. Should you just start working on those pieces immediately? Well, no, because some processes are more important than others. And what I've got here is a little 3-level maturity model, where, in my opinion, the 4 most important processes a team need to start with are operational meetings, team ground rules, open communication practices, and the peer support system. So when you've done your team health check, you look down it and you find that any of these are broken or any of these are just partly adequate. And my recommendation is you start to fix these first. Then you freeze the change, let everybody get comfortable with it, then move on to level 2. This is the best way to get change that really sticks, by establishing these little base camps of process improvement. Don't do it continuously. Don't do it in a random order. Don't do it in an alphabetical order. You will only frustrate and exhaust people. So that's all I want to say today about the processes of high-performing teams. In the next video, we're going to talk about the equally important subject of the change management of high-performing teams.